All right, Knicks fans, before we get into this one, do me a favor. Smash that like button right now. It genuinely helps this channel more than you think. And if you're new here, hit subscribe because we cover everything Knicks every single day. Okay, let's get into it. So we're out in Las Vegas for Summer League, and there's a story that's been floating around that I think deserves way more attention than it's getting. Dylan Jones. Yeah, the guy most casual fans probably forgot was even on this roster is apparently playing a bigger role in this organization than his stat line suggests. And I don't mean on the court. I mean in the locker room, in the coaching staff's ear, in the film room. Here's the deal. Jones came over as part of that Thunder pipeline. And remember, Oklahoma City just won it all last year. This kid was in that locker room, on that bench, soaking up everything a championship organization does differently. And apparently Mike Brown, our head coach, has been picking his brain, not in some forced, "Hey, rookie, tell me your wisdom" kind of way. According to Jones, it came up naturally in casual conversations. And one of the things that came out of it, the coaching staff had the team sit down and rewatch that brutal Game 3 loss to the Spurs during Summer League. Now stop and think about that for a second. A Summer League loss. Most organizations treat Summer League like a glorified scrimmage. Nobody's watching film like it's a playoff series. But Brown took a suggestion from a guy who isn't even guaranteed a roster spot, and he ran with it. And look, say what you want about some of the coaching decisions this franchise has made over the years. And trust me, I've had plenty of complaints, you all know that, but this is the kind of humility you want from your head coach. Comment below if you agree, because I want to know if you think this is a great sign, or if you think it a little concerning that a fringe roster guy is the one steering film sessions. Because here's my honest, indignant fan take on this. It's great that Brown is humble enough to listen to anybody in the gym. Genuinely, that's a good look. But it also low-key exposes something, right? If a Summer League guy who barely played rotation minutes last season is out here influencing coaching decisions, what does that say about the voices Brown has around him at the NBA level? I want to see that same humility applied to real roster construction decisions, not just film sessions in Vegas. And speaking of roster construction, can we talk about the center situation for a second? Because this is where my blood pressure starts rising every single time I think about it. Right now, on this roster, our center depth is Karl-Anthony Towns and Andre Drummond. That's it. 2 bodies. And KT, as much as I love his offensive game, is not exactly a rim-protecting, bang-with-you-every-night kind of 5. We need bodies. We need depth. And that's exactly why this Jonas Valanciunas rumor caught my attention. There were reports out of Europe claiming Valanciunas had already agreed to a deal with Lithuanian club Žalgiris. Valanciunas himself hopped on social media and basically clowned the report, laughing it off, saying something to the effect of, "Must be nice waking up and finding out my life's already been decided for me. Thanks, reporters." Which, fair. Reporters do this all the time. They run with a story before it's signed, sealed, and delivered. But here's the thing. Even with him denying it's final, multiple outlets are still saying a move to Žalgiris is expected to happen. And if that's true, that stings a little bit as a Knicks fan. Because from what I understand, this front office had at least some level of interest in Valanciunas as a free agent center option. A guy who's a proven double-double machine, who can bang in the paint, who's been in winning environments before. If he walks to Europe instead of signing with an NBA team that could use him, and we are absolutely a team that could use him, that's one more center option gone from a very thin market. So drop a comment and tell me, should the Knicks be more aggressive right now chasing center depth? Because I don't think we can just cruise into training camp with 2 bodies of the 5 and call it a plan. That's not a plan, that's a prayer. Now let's pivot to some actual good news, because it's not all frustration today. Jack Cale. Write that name down if you haven't already, because this kid balled out. He's a second-round pick who spent last season playing professionally in Germany, and he showed up late to Summer League because of a contract situation with his old club overseas. Understandable stuff. Happens all the time with international prospects. But once he actually got on the floor with the Summer League squad, the kid dropped 19 points, led the team in scoring, and grabbed 3 steals in under 30 minutes of action. And it wasn't just about the numbers. Jones, who's clearly been paying close attention to the young guys, talked about how advanced Cale's basketball IQ already looks, how he stepped into a group midstream and immediately understood what was happening, what the system wanted from him. That's not normal for a guy who just got off a plane from Europe a few days prior. That's a sign of a kid who's been coached well and who processes a game at a high level already. Now, look, I'm not saying go crown this kid as a future starter. It's Summer League, against other teams' fringe roster players and G League hopefuls. But when your second-round pick is out there outproducing everybody else on the floor in his first game, you pay attention. And honestly, this is exactly the kind of stuff that gets buried under the bigger headlines, which is why I need you guys to keep engaging with videos like this. Like, comment, share it with another Knicks fan, because the algorithm decides whether stories like Kale's breakout actually reach people or get lost in the noise. Meanwhile, two other rotation pieces, Mohamed Diawara and Packham Dadiet, sat out Monday's game with minor injuries. A finger issue for Diawara and some foot soreness for Dadiet. Nothing that sounds alarming right now, but obviously something to monitor as camp approaches. The good news is the team didn't miss a beat without them, which honestly says a lot about the overall depth of the Summer League roster. Even if the actual NBA roster depth, particularly at center, like I said, still has me nervous. So here's where I land on all of this. There's a lot to like here. A young guy like Dylan Jones showing real leadership qualities even without big minutes. A coaching staff led by Mike Brown that's actually humble enough to adjust and listen instead of running the same stubborn playbook. A second-round pick in Jack Cale, who might have actually found something real in Vegas. That's all good. But I can't sit here and pretend the front office doesn't have real work to do. This center situation needs to get addressed, and soon. We are one soft tissue injury away from being in real trouble at that position, and watching guys like Valanciunas potentially slip away to Europe instead of putting on a Knicks jersey is exactly the kind of thing that keeps me up at night as a fan. Let me know down in the comments. Are you optimistic heading into training camp? Or are you like me, cautiously excited but still stressed about that front court depth? Smash that like button if you made it this far. Subscribe if you haven't, and drop a comment because I read every single one. And it genuinely helps push this channel further. I'll see you in the next one. Go Knicks!